What's up, YouTube? Sorry, I couldn't help myself. I watched a Nick Merckx video earlier. So today we're going to talk about Cyberpunk 2077. The journey that it took to make it must have been monumental. So I'm not going to downplay the work that the engineers, artists, and the entire team did, because that would just be silly. But I am going to point out some really specific parts of the game that I think need a lot of work and improvement over time if they wish to retain the player base and have people purchase their DLC. As some of you may know, this broke Steam's concurrent players record, and that's justified. It's a beautiful game. What you're seeing right now is live in-game. It's pretty amazing. I'm going to turn it down a little bit before we get into this first part, but let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment and all that stuff, or I'll stab this truck. Do it. Alright, so first up, AI, pathing, and all that good stuff. It's pretty basic. It's really basic in anything outside of the story sense. And even in the story, there are some problems. I'm not just going to talk about this stuff, I'm going to show you. Alright, so let's start with the cars. First thing, we'll do a little bit of this.
Watch it.
Hey, watch it. That's it. That's about all you get. That's not terrible or anything. It's just do more there. I mean, they could be reactive in some way. Second,
jackass.
Let's check this out. So, what is the point of me smashing that car into that truck? But you see this line? This line's just going to keep getting longer. And it's going to stay that way. No one's going to try to go around. They're not going to honk. They're not going to do anything. There are 2 lanes here, so these cars will proceed. But unless I move that car, it will stay there for a very long time. It will despawn if I get far enough away. I don't know what that distance is. It appears to be a range of distances, but it's pretty far. If you stay in the area, I've actually seen my cars an hour later still in the same spot, and then there'd just be long lines of traffic. I mean, for 8 years, you can improve your traffic system. It may be that there were some critical issues with it, and they just, rolled it back or have another version that's almost finished, but it's not great. And another thing is when you get hit by a car, there's absolutely no response by the car. Kind of weird. Alright, so now let's talk about NPCs. They're also pretty dumb. Watch. I may have triggered the police. Gone.
I don't care.
They're all gone. So let's see this in a smaller scale without a weapon. Without a weapon. Punch this guy. Everybody around me freaks out. All I did was punch him. That's okay. Not the worst thing ever. This lady stays. She's got her floating tablet. Alright.
You guys never get bored, do ya?
Go here. She's still there.
Please, no.
Everybody over here is terrified. It's like I pulled out a rocket launcher.
Let me go!
You don't have to kill me.
That's about it. That's all of the interactions you're going to get, aside from, you can press F and hear the same 3 things over and over again. These people are also terrified. I was pretty far from them, but whatever. These people don't care at the same time. And if we go back over here, the other lady has despawned, and this woman has spawned in her place. Pretty common trend is despawning NPCs, groups of people spawning in.
Don't bug me, kid!
Objects spawning in, pretty much right in front of you. And that's running even at the highest settings. But in general, my point is the AI is very dull. I would argue that Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption 2, and even in some cases, like San Andreas would have more interaction with non-player characters, as well as the world. Let's talk about that a little bit too. And I almost forgot to mention another good example of this is if you help out an NCPD officer or a civilian in a situation where there's like a gang attacking them, which happens all throughout the world, something you'd see in a lot of these other games, they just do this afterwards. That's it. They don't like thank you. There's no cutscene like you would see in some other games. They just stay very scared of you, and for some reason have a fight icon above them. This is very short-sighted in its implementation, and it's concerning that this stuff is in the game this way. Alright, so let's start with what is in the game. We'll use Jig Street as an example of what's in the game. It's a red light district. It's very well done design and art-wise. Implementation obviously varies depending on what the thing is. Again, you'll see the AI spazzing because I jumped off of a bridge, yet all these other ones aren't. I'm going to keep reinforcing that as I see it. But one thing you'll notice is Jig Street looks pretty alive, right? Here we have a Joy Toy, one of two in the whole game. They have one cutscene, and they just play it. Looks great, not really a pivotal part of the game. Would love to have something else that's attached to this, tie it in the storyline. I haven't seen that yet. I don't think it happens at all. You have places like this. They look great. You can go buy a drink and sell things. You'll have shops like this, where you absolutely can see a very wide lineup of things, and you can absolutely talk to this man, and you can get brain dances as well. Have I been able to use them? No, they're all incompatible with my software. That's something that maybe I will be able to use later, I don't know. You'll also see areas like this with slot machines, right? And actually, NPCs will be out here and they'll ask you if you've tried your luck. They'll ask another character during the story if they've tried their luck. They're totally unusable. You can't do anything. You can't do anything with her.
You have
nothing. Just 3 lines. These don't work, although there are a few of these games around the city that do work. They're not anything different than what you would normally see, but none of this works. You can't bet your money, can't do anything with it. But pretty much everything here is you get food, you run a cutscene, or you sell things. That's it. She's still scared of me. Every area is less than this in its interactability. Even some of the places that are in the story, like Clouds and Afterlife, are totally not usable in any way, at least for me in the game right now, and I've checked throughout it and it's continued to not be usable. World-wise, you'll also see a lot of things like this, where it's just locked. I assume these are all empty buildings that won't be usable unless they're put into a DLC, but almost all of it is that way. It's very rare you can go into a place that isn't a part of the story in some way, and when I have been able to get into them, they're usually environments for other parts of the story where characters live that are like the hallways to get to them, or the stairways, or a balcony in an empty room. Occasionally, you'll see one room open, like at the Sunset Hotel, and that's because it's used later in a mission. The leaving it open is just easier. Places like this, there's nothing usable. Now, why I bring this up is because you can't mark it as an open world RPG, and I know they went back and changed everything to say action RPG, and not have some semblance of this stuff. I mean, you're getting torn apart by games that have existed for 5, 6, 7 years in this category. That said, it doesn't take away from the story. It doesn't prevent me from having a good time in the game. But it's a pretty big concern. So the last thing I would mention with this game is the character customization. Now, well, the customization initially, when you start the game, is fair. I would argue it could use more, and it's pretty good in other areas when you're customizing your character. There's a lot missing once you get in game. while you could change your clothing, you can't change your hair, you can't get tattoos, you can't add other like attachments outside of the core armor system. For what was promised, that should be here. The price point, I think the game totally meets every bit of what you pay for it. The story is captivating. There are a lot of missions to do. I'm pretty deep in, and I have plenty left to do, and I have already done plenty. This isn't about the story. I actually do enjoy the skill system in this game so far. I think it makes sense. I do think it's probably missing some skills that would be neat that they removed to add later. I don't have any problems with that. Crafting's okay. It's kind of limited and you don't have to use it, so maybe that could be better. But when it comes to the open world aspects of the game, this game's failed at it. I don't see myself coming back in and like doing anything after I 100% this game and finish the story portions, which is fine. I mean, that's kind of what's intended, but it's also kind of not, considering how it was marketed. But it's a beautiful game. I've had a good time with it. I'm going to continue to play it. It's not a bad game by any means, but it's definitely fallen short in the open world version. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that stuff. I know this is short and mostly focused on 3 specific topics. But the other ones were all great. Honestly, there's not too much wrong with them in general. If you don't like, comment, and subscribe, I will blow up this little rascal scooter in 10 seconds.